So, still at 0 views. No chats. Chat has not started up yet. There we go. There's went to 2. I wonder if I'll have to adjust the chat. Still at 2 viewers. Can someone send something in the chat? I'm not sure if the chat window is cut off. Okay, there we go. Let me just move the chat window. All right, there we go. It was cut off on the bottom. Okay, so there's 6 people here now. So this will be another low energy live stream similar to the recent ones I've been doing. I've been trying to keep up one a week, just to as a basic criteria. And I figured I might as well at least make it justifying why I haven't made more videos during the week. So if you're interested in hearing the various details of what I spent a lot of today debugging and the trials and tribulations of getting stuck doing debugging meaningless issues, I've been trying to upgrade to Ubuntu 24, and there's running into all sorts of snags and stuff like that. But I have a lot of stuff on my computer that's been set up, and I haven't reinstalled it in quite a while, so there's just lots of snags to run into. So in 2 minutes, I'll start going into the details. We might hear some fireworks tonight. I've seen a few people setting them off. I think the main fireworks is supposed to be tomorrow. Maybe I could live stream that. I think it's Victoria Day or something like that. Do you guys have some similar fireworks event tomorrow? 55 seconds. I guess this is a quiet night for live streaming. Maybe there's something else special going on that everyone's doing. I guess it's a long weekend, so most people who have something better to do with their time are probably not watching live streams like this. Okay, so I might as well get started. Probably the first technical note is last live stream I had an audio issue where at one time need a little background noise. Huh. Yeah, I've heard that's a common thing people want for live streams. So I guess you'll get that. I'll be droning on about what I did this week, and I guess there's only 6 viewers now, but most of the views actually come from after it's posted. So I'll just talk to all those people who are going to be watching this in the future. Yeah. So the last time I had a random pop noise on the microphone, and I'm not sure what exactly that was. I know the microphone stand here has like a rubber. It's metal, but it has rubber things on the bottom, so it makes me think it's maybe kind of isolated. I thought that the issue was with the cable I had. At least I'm pretty sure the cable did have issues, because when I would wiggle the cable, it would cause a lot of distortion and cracking and stuff. But then, so I got a new cable. This one's actually a real, professional microphone cable. But then when I tried to plug it in, I got the same like super loud like buzzing noise. I mean, it sounded like what I've heard people refer to as a ground loop. So the thing is, I don't really know. I'm not 100% sure how you're supposed to professionally fix this, because there's no ground point to hook onto in the preamp to isolate it or something. But I don't know. It might actually be this microphone itself. I dropped it a couple times, so hopefully I didn't break it. But I do have a backup. So anyway, hopefully I don't get any of those audio issues on this live stream. But if I do, then that'll be another thing to fix for the future. So the next thing that I spent time working on while not doing more videos is I need to migrate to Ubuntu 24, because I'm on Ubuntu 20, and it's only a matter of time before stuff starts. I start getting problems with being so out of date. I skipped 22 because the Wayland migration was giving me problems. I tried installing some of the I think OBS it just didn't work, so I just gave up on it and said, nah, I'll wait until the next one. Ubuntu 24, you can the default for me was you can go in like 2 modes. There's an X11 mode and then a Wayland mode, which is great. So I'm just stayed on the X11 one, and so far it seems like I was prepared to be very disappointed, but so far it seems like I can get everything, get most of the things working. I did have one really strange issue where if I did a log out and then log back in, if I do Control-Alt-T to open a terminal, normally that immediately opens a terminal, but for some reason with my version of Ubuntu 24, it just doesn't open the terminal. And then if I keep TBH, all my ground loop are due to power supply noise leaking in somehow. You can always ground things to your building's ground system with the 10K resistor or something. Yeah. I'm gonna hope that that weird problem just kind of goes away and never comes back. When I had it, I noticed, like, I started touching stuff just to figure out, like, if it's a grounding electrical isolation thing, and I noticed that if I moved over to the preamp and I touched some of the like the shielding on some of the other things on the preamp, like for like keyboard and guitar and stuff like that, where it had those inputs. If I touched the outer part, which I assume is the grounding part, that would like affect the tone of it. And I touched it a few times, and then it eventually went away, and I couldn't get the problem to come back. So, yeah, I guess maybe I'll have to run a wire from the outside of one of those to, I don't know, something in the building to ground it. But yeah, the Ubuntu 24 issues. Yeah, I don't really want to like wire it to something in the socket or anything. I guess maybe I don't know. I'll hook it up to my window or something and hope that dissipates it well. But yeah, the Ubuntu 24 seems to have a weird bug where if you try to open terminals, in my case, if I logged out and then logged back in, if I try to open a terminal, it doesn't open a terminal, and then I just keep trying it. And if I try to open like 50 terminals, all of the terminals open at once, and then I have to get one terminal, I have to open 50 and then close like 49 of them to get the one. So I don't know what was up with that. It only seemed to happen when if I logged out and then logged back in. So hopefully that's not a problem that's going to be a recurring issue, because if it is, that's going to be I'm gonna have to work on fixing that, because Control Alt T to open a terminal. That's something that's like one of the things I do the most on a system, and I would imagine most people also do that. So what else did I waste a bunch of my time? This is for workstation or server that you're doing the upgrade. This is for my like main daily driver. So I have all the now that I've gotten more and more stuff in my workflow, I've got so there's my blog. I have like a local software setup for my blog, and then I've also got some like business stuff, just like scripts and stuff for interacting with AWS, and some processing stuff, and some regular jobs, and of course also making the videos. So I gotta make sure OBS works. So that'll be an interesting test once I finally go to it, to test like, does live streaming actually work, or is there it's always, I always find you're so unexpectedly disappointed. Things always seem to work at first, and then you try them and you find out there's this like weird issue that like you would normally always expect to work, and it has some it'll have some weird frame rate issue, or just obscure things. So fingers crossed that I don't have to deal with any of that. Hello, bro. Good morning and good night. Yeah, here it's I guess about, what is it, probably 10 p.m. or so. So the other things that I worked on were of course having to get the database working. So I use Postgres for most of the database stuff, and one of the things I found was that's new in, what is it, Postgres 15? I think that was the version that's the version that's on Ubuntu 24 by default is, or that installs by default is, I found an issue where when setting up a database, when setting up the database for the first time, if I want to create a special user for that database, I have to explicitly connect to the database, and then do a separate like grant to I forget what it is, grant to schema public or something, and that was necessary in order to allow that user to actually create tables. Hope you're having a great night, my friend. Oh, thank you for the positive vibes. And the next thing I found was once I actually got the database set up, then I try to connect to it, and then I get authentication method 10 not supported, which turned out to be, what was that? Oh, that was, I had to just upgrade the driver. And, of course, these are just, this explains why I didn't make any videos this week. It's just Googling on Stack Overflow, and then you find a Stack Overflow post, and they're like, oh, just you upgrade to this version. And then someone's replied like, oh yeah, don't upgrade to that version because it has another bug. Bro, I started with Python and I want to learn C, C++. Next for cybersecurity. Do you suggest it? I would say every programming language has it has a specific use case. So Python is great. I like Python for like low fidelity tasks if I want to just like transform something or get something working. And C, C++, C if you're doing like embedded stuff. There's all these languages like Rust and things like other higher level languages people are making, but excuse me. Yeah, C is still very C is still very relevant for embedded systems, and as much as people talk about Rust, C is still basically the king for any kind of especially low level constrained systems, and of course C++ is also there's so much C++ code out there in the wild that I guess if you're asking which you should learn, I guess it probably depends on which interests you the most. And I guess the other higher level question is making money is really important. So it's a totally separate question about which of those languages can you make the most money with. I guess Python, like where all the money is with AI stuff. So if you focused more on Python, like I think probably a lot of the growth and the money is probably not necessarily in C and C++, unless you go in some like obscure embedded stuff. But if you learn Python, you can also switch over into like all the AI stuff, because a lot of the AI models are all written in Python. So from a money perspective, Python might be a better language. But of course, if you become a elite level programmer, you will learn all of those languages, at least to some extent. Wish you good luck. I had to rebuild a runner at work from Amazon Linux 2 to Ubuntu because installing things on AL2 was a nightmare. I had to build PyEnv and RBN from source and more. Yeah, I've had some trials and tribulations with Amazon Web Services stuff this week, and actually that's one of the things I'll talk about a bit. Love your videos. Thanks for everything. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, I want to learn malware analysis too. If you specifically want to learn malware analysis, then I guess C and C++ is probably a really good deal, a really good idea. C is lightweight and proven. Yeah, well said. Hope you're having a great night, my friend. Yep, so far anyway. Thank you, so right. I got it. Going to get some sleep. All right, have a good night. I had another friend of mine complain about AWS today too. Yeah, it's there's certain things in AWS, like for example, Amazon S3 is like, that's a pretty dead simple, amazing service. But one of the things that I've wasted a lot of time on is Lambda functions. Like Lambda functions could be so amazing. Wow, I'm getting a lot of well wishes about having a great night. So I'll have to try extra hard to not let everyone down. Yeah. So and I guess of course the next thing was I haven't reinstalled my reset of these databases for a while, so I have some like working stuff on my computer like I've created new tables and stuff, and I'm not 100% sure that I have them all written down, and I like commented some of them out. I changed some of the way the database works, and so just getting together my things so that I can recreate the database on the new system. And of course, on the newer version of Ubuntu, it's a newer Java version, but I'm still on the older Java version. But I can't upgrade on the old computer because it doesn't install gracefully. And if I do upgrade, then I have to change all the code because the compiler flags are different. The compiler constraints are different. So I'm going to get it working on the old version of Java on the new computer, and then eventually over time upgrade. Oh yeah, I wasted today. Perfect example of an amazing thing that I wasted a ton of time on today was, let's see. Maybe I won't bother. Well, actually, let's see. So if I do mkdir foo, okay, so I just created a folder, put a text file in there. So I've got the other user has read, write, execute. So I can echo that, and then if I do okay, so I can still echo that. And if I do, so I take other users, remove the execute permission from foo, from the directory. So now the foo directory does not have the execute permission set. Now if I do is the current user food, I can do that, and then if I do is Fedora, I get permission denied. And then if I set the permission back, then I can read it again. So that issue that I just showed you is something I guess I knew about that, but I just didn't really think about it. And I spent a very long time today wasting a lot of time. And the problem ended up being this issue that in order to read a file, you have to have the execute. You not only need the read permission on the file, but you need execute on the directory, or I think also any directory that's in the path toward that file. Do you charge your client fixed price or hourly? Just wondering how you manage that. I charge hourly. I found that it's difficult. There's always if you read up on like consulting and stuff, there's lots of people write articles on like how to make so much money in consulting. You got to charge like fixed projects or charge weekly and stuff like that. But the problem I've always found is that clients don't even know what they want. So they have like basically random needs. Like they just kind of need ad hoc work done. They'll come to you with a list of bugs and stuff. And it's impossible for you to actually propose a fixed bid. That's what I've always found. And even I have done a couple of ones where I was like, maybe I should try to do a fixed bid for this, so that I can hopefully, if I can benefit from doing a good job, if I can do it really fast and efficiently, then there's some upside for me. But in practice, it's been really hard to pin that down because I can't give an imprecise estimate because I don't know how much work it's actually going to take to fix the thing, because I need to actually look at the code and review things. And in practice, I find to successfully evaluate how much work it is, whether it's 5 minutes or a year of work, you have to get into the code, look at it, and evaluate it. And I find that it's just but at that point, you're basically you're already working on the problem. Thank you for being you, man. Sending prayers and good vibes. Oh wow, it's lots of good vibes and good thoughts my way tonight. When I got frustrated to a point, I ended up having to reset and look at it later. You have to charge them consulting because they'll come back over and over and over. It is kind of surprising that some clients will kind of come to you and it seems like their work peters out, and then then a year later they'll reach out back to you again. And, sometimes their thing doesn't really take off. I mean, I think it's a testament to how much persistence how persistent entrepreneurs usually are. Daily reminder that Java is the best language. In some contexts. Hi, friend. Hello, B. All right, so that was so that issue that I just mentioned there with the directory permission issue. So where I found that was I was migrating my blog, and I made a thing in my blog so that I used to just have a JSON file where I had all my blog posts, and I'd manually edit the JSON file. But yeah, last year or so, I made it so that I actually have an internal website that I edit, and through the Tomcat web server, I'll click a thing and it'll create a new blog post stub. And when that happens, the Tomcat process is running under the Tomcat user. And what was happening was when I tried to load the blog page, it was saying, my code was saying that I couldn't render the page because an image was not found. And then I dug into it, and I had a thing that was doing if file does not exist, then show this error message. And it was telling me the file doesn't exist because the check for does file exist was failing. And it turned out that the file exists would return false if there was a permission issue trying to access the file. So it's technically it's not really correct. Ideally it would throw an exception or something and say permission denied, but I thought, okay, that's reasonable. So then I tried a couple alternative functions because at that point it didn't really seem like a permission issue. And then I did something else. I removed the check and I let the code run, and then it rendered the page properly. And I thought, oh, so the file must actually exist, and it's failing. The check is broken or something. And that was a mistake because I had actually rendered the page previously locally, and I have a cache system that makes the whole thing a bit faster. So what it was doing is it was checking for the file, which I guess it always does, even if it's cached, even though it doesn't necessarily need to. And so then it wasn't actually trying to access the file from the Tomcat web server. It was going through the cache. So I thought, oh, the file does exist, and it's able to access it. So that made me even more confused. And then I kept digging into it more, and then I decided, you know what, instead of and then I found that so there's in the file, I think the files class, there's a .exists function and a .not exists function, and it's possible for you to in this case, this is what I was getting was it would say it does not exist and it does not exist. So exists and not exists were both returning false. And of course, people were, there's all these Stack Overflow posts about like, oh, of course that can make sense, because if it doesn't have permission or something, then or if there's like a OS problem or a file system corruption, and then I kept Googling. I was like, how do I fundamentally solve this problem, or at least get feedback that it's like permission issue? Because ideally, like, I don't want, if there's a permission issue, I want my code to tell me there's can't read the file. I don't want to say file does not exist. I want to say there's a permission issue. And then I got down this rabbit hole of like all these bugs. Apparently there's a whole bunch of bugs where the .exist function will say it doesn't exist. There's a bunch of known bugs in this Java function, so I was like, maybe I'm encountering a bug. So I just wasted so much time going down this rabbit hole. And then eventually what I found out, the fundamental problem was when I created the, in the kind of automatic stub creation thing, when I created a folder for the blog post, in my code that I wrote, I forgot for the other user, it was just I must have copied and pasted some, a bad example. I didn't set the execute permission for the other user. And what was happening was on my old computer, it was creating those as the Tomcat user, and it was creating those stubs as the Tomcat user. So the Tomcat user, of course, could actually see those files because they were owned by Tomcat. But when I copied them over, it didn't copy the ownership, but it did copy the permissions exactly. So then now that they were owned by Robert on this computer, when I try to access them from Tomcat, Tomcat was not able to access the folder because it didn't have the execute permission set. And I had looked at permissions way beforehand. That was like one of the first things I checked, just to make sure I actually have read permissions on it, on the file itself. But I forgot about that, caveat that you have to have execute on the folder to read the file. And I think it has to be execute on everything in the every folder in the path leading up to the file. Inverse of file exists not equals file not exists. Yeah, I've got to be careful. Okay, so that was, again, that's why I didn't, if you're wondering why I didn't make videos this week, it's because I was spending countless hours debugging stuff like that. I already talked about the terminal not opening. Ubuntu 24, has X11 and Wayland mode, so that's good. That'll make the whole transition a lot better. That way, if people try the Wayland mode and there's some blocking bug, then they can just fall over, and then hopefully we can everything will just eventually work. I find myself becoming increasingly cynical. I mean, I can even talk about the next bug here. I tried the newest version of Kdenlive because, of course, I'm gonna have to be able to edit videos. If I upgrade to 24, and then if Kdenlive doesn't work, if it has a blocking bug, then like I might even have, if that didn't work, I have to make videos. So I'd have to fall back, to Ubuntu. I'd have to reinstall everything again, go to Ubuntu 20 again. And I tried out just rendering a file because, the simplest things sometimes are what are least likely to work. And I just recorded a basic video and rendered it, and that it rendered properly. But then I took just like a 4-second screen record and zoomed into it, and that worked. But then I tried it. I added a slow speed to it, and when I rendered that, I only tried this once, so maybe I did enter something wrong, but it did the zoom, but it went sideways, so it didn't at all match the preview. So I don't know what was going on there, but hopefully maybe it's just that version, or maybe it's fixed. I don't know. It's it's annoying that we always have new bugs in software. Like people are working on a project and it gets full of bugs, and they're like, oh man, we got to rewrite this project to rewrite it, redesign it well, and we'll have version 2, and version 2 is not going to have any bugs. And then they spend so much time making version 2 and they spend so much time fixing the bugs that version 1 had, but then they put an entire new set of bugs in version 2. So we never actually get software that works. We just get new versions of software that have new bugs, and then people always have aspirations to fix them, and then they do get fixed, but we just keep putting in new bugs, and that's it would be nice if we could like you're saying with integration hell, it'd be great if we could just eventually fix a bug, commit it, and then never have that bug again. I also published one more blog post this week. I'm working on getting I have a blog post for every single one of the shorts videos. So once I get caught up with all the blog posts, I think I'm maybe like four blog posts behind. Then I'm gonna have a page on my blog for the a core utils overview. So then someone asked about a list in a previous thing, then I can just have that blog post, and I can maybe I don't know how much time I'll have to be elaborate, but I'll try to organize them in a decent way. So it's kind of like a springboard to all the core utils commands, and a dedicated article on each one of them, and you can also see the videos from there. And importantly, I also did some client work that actually makes money this week. I got one order in my my merch store. Someone actually where is it? The 3 portraits that I have. You can get a better view of them in some of my other videos. I made another sale of those, and also my regular expression stickers. I think that actually might be I think that's my first sale of the regular expression stickers through my store. So I think I've done maybe like 5 sales through the merch store so far, which is it's starting to pick up. And of course, I am being rent-evicted, so my landlords gave me a notice that says I'm going to be evicted on August 31st, and it is a bad faith rent eviction that is not. It's not an order by the landlord tenant board, so it's kind of dubious. If they get the permits to do the work that they're claiming that they want to do, then they could actually apply to the tenant board to get me evicted. But they're also doing that to a whole bunch of other people in the building, and fight them, but also keep your ducks in a row. Yeah, I mean it's a lot of work to do all this stuff. It's know that even if you win the situation will stay hostile. Yeah, that's the problem, but it's like I don't know. It's like I can stay here and it's miserable, but if I go anywhere else, it's also miserable because then I'm paying another it's over $1,000 more rent to go anywhere else. But then also I'm not under rent control anywhere else, and I mean if they do successfully evict me here, that also means that rent, that implies that I can't trust rent control anywhere. So even if I go into another rent control place, it's like $2,000 then in a couple of years, if rent is like $4,000, I could move and then get rent evicted again in like 4 years from now, 4 or 5 years. It's rent control doesn't exist. Yeah. Are you in Canada? Yeah. So did some worked on some updates to the site that I made to help out with some of the other tenants. USA, California, worst spot on the planet Earth, it seems. Yeah, I lived down in, I was in San Jose for a bit, and then I've been down there a few times. I love the weather down there in California. It's like the constant sun is just it feels so nice down there. Specifically Central Valley. Everyone from LA, the Bay Area, decided to move. The cheapest place, CA. Okay. Central Valley is so is that kind of near like San Jose? Like, is it does the Caltrain go through that area? I don't know my California geography very well outside of the Bay Area. Yeah, so yeah, also on that's the other thing. I ended up wasting one of those things where I think like, oh, this is going to be simple. I'm going to work on this easy thing, and then it takes forever. So I set up just set up a simple EC2 server to share some basic info with tenants and stuff, and put some just to be able to post some basic information there. And so I've been thinking of having a I've had a general need for something to be able to have like an most of my blog is all static hosted, but I have a general need for like some kind of actual dynamic system, dynamic website that runs in the cloud, ideally like serverless, that I can post information to, and like even just a basic thing like a lead sign up form, because a static website you can't actually take in the information, and it's been something that I've been I know you can probably I've assumed there's probably an easy way to do this with AWS, and I kind of was thinking that maybe things are advanced enough now with Lambda services and all the RDS integration and VPCs and all that stuff that it would be easy to just set up like an EC2 instance, put the EC2 instance protected behind like CloudFront or something, and then use API gateway, have things on the static site that push to publish to like an API gateway, and then in the API gateway it would send to a Lambda function, and then the Lambda function could just be dead simple, post to a database. And I thought that would be simple, but I spent way too much time messing around with Lambda functions, and eventually I concluded that it was currently it's at least not that possible. California train project yet to be completed has completely destroyed all of our farm roads. Complete corruption and lack of rent control. Rent has gone up $250 every year, up to $2.8K a month for 3-bedroom. Keep in mind US dollars. Yeah, it's I mean, here, I guess with of course US dollars are more, but in Canada here, like a really kind of uncomfortably small like bachelor place is like 2,400 or something. It's maybe like 20. I think my brother's paying 2,400 or something. I think like the market rate is like 2,600 or something for around Toronto. So it's getting, I mean, the housing, the economics of the housing situation are just like totally insanely broken here in Canada right now. It's something is going to break soon. I'm not 100% sure what it's going to be. I mean, I think what has been happening a lot is people spend basically 100% of their income on rent and mortgage, and so they've been putting like life essentials like groceries and stuff on credit cards, and so credit card debt is like going up, the fastest pace it's ever gone up, and inevitably that's going to lead to like some massive defaults and stuff, and it's and we've also got like tons of mortgage fraud and stuff now, and we'll see what happens, but there's something's gonna break, because I mean it's it's even difficult to as I've described in other videos, it's difficult for someone like me, but like I'm probably in one of the best positions to weather this whole situation, but there's so many other so many impoverished people and people that don't have great career prospects, people that don't have an education. It's really rough. Just go to gas stations, look at how many round numbers you see. $10 here, $20 there. Yeah, it's not sure what it leads to. But in the meantime, we can, even though we can't get much done in physical space, we can retreat into the world of cyberspace and build AWS services, serverless AWS services, like the database service I was setting up. At first I tried, I set up an RDS instance with Postgres, and I found some sort of code that said, oh, just run this Lambda function that what was it, PyCog2 or something like that, and then it can insert right to the RDS database. And of course you set up some some roles and stuff, but I thought it would be easy, and then I found out that I think in a previous version of the Python that they supported, of the Python Lambda function, like Python 3.6 or something, they would allow you to import that module that you could use to talk to the Postgres database. But then in the newest version, Python 3.12, that doesn't exist, and you have to create a Lambda layer, which I understand if you want like third-party stuff, you have to like do something extra to make you have to include the third-party resources in the Lambda function. But then you got to like compile this whole package and stuff, and it's sensitive to like the local version of Python you have in your machine, so you'd have to get this very specific version of Python and package it, and it's just my whole reason for doing this was like I thought, oh, I could just throw up a quick Lambda function and it's going to be easy, but it's so much work, and it's really disappointing that these services have existed for so long now. And it's still like all I want to do is have I want to have some basic feature where I can send something to like an API gateway endpoint, and then that can talk to an RDS database. Just do some really basic database interaction from the API gateway, and then either insert some stuff so that I can process it later, or do whatever, or trigger some other Lambda function. But that basic thing seems to be just so complicated, and the interface for Lambda functions is just really tedious to work with. I know there's some other third-party stuff that supposedly makes that easier, but I don't really want to use third-party services because it's it's already on I'm already on shaky ground building all this like abstract serverless stuff. Now I have to depend on third-party libraries that are hosted on that was one of the things people linked. Everyone was like, oh yeah, you can create a Lambda layer. Just go to this random person's GitHub account and like download this random code they have and then upload it into your Lambda function. I'm like, I don't I don't know who this person is. Like, it's just full of you know, all kinds of backdoors and stuff like that. That's gonna like take over my AWS account. Like, I don't want to take that risk. Like, bro, it's just adding more shovelware instead of making things easier. Yeah, it's I mean, there are certain things in AWS where like, I mean, S3 was a good example. Is it's just where if you don't use this stuff, you're kind of crazy to not take advantage of these things when they work in the situations where they work well, and especially with you know, becoming more security conscious, like the hacking and the like all the nefarious activity that's on the internet now is increasing exponentially. Found your channel recently and I really enjoy your content. Would you mind sharing how you got into software development, computer science generally? So I think I got into it around I think it was around 14 or so. I started my first programming. I guess actually I always knew that computer programming was a thing that existed, and I think it was in middle school. I was playing Age of Empires, I remember, and there was you could build campaigns, and I spent all these time playing campaigns, and you could set in the campaigns, you could set up these like conditions and effects. So you could, in a way, I kind of thought about it at the time. I was like, oh, this is kind of like, I guess, what programming must be, because you have a condition where a unit moves to a certain area and you can have a certain effect. And that kind of got me onto that kind of made me more interested in learning how to program. And of course, at that age, everyone thinks about like, oh, I should make video games and stuff. So I also tried like, at the time you could download all these like sketchy hacks and stuff to like add mods to your Age of Empires. So I started doing that, and I remember I used to do stuff like I would take the binary files or like the config files and I'd put them into like Notepad and I'd try to edit them. And I remember taking like binary files and trying to like edit them in WordPad, and then I'd save it and it wouldn't work, and I didn't know why. But at that time I would try like, you know, eventually I learned about hex editors, so I'd try to like change the bits just to see what would change, and of course stuff would crash. And of course then so that was middle school, and then I think eventually when I was 19 I decided I wanted to get rich trading stocks. So then I started day trading stocks with my meager $3,000, and over time I became aware of that, you know, I'd have to learn like how to do like algorithmic trading if I was going to be successful at this. So I started learning a bit about that, and then I realized like I started actually writing some real software around that time, and I realized like you know, I wrote like a few thousand lines of code to try and like analyze stocks and stuff, and I realized like I'm not I don't have the expertise for this. I need to learn how to like write real software in so that was when I enrolled in software engineering. And I originally I wanted to do pure math, but then I said I'll probably do software engineering because it's probably got the best career prospects in the future. And I guess I picked the right major in that respect. So that brings me to back to the concluding my discussion on frustration with Amazon Web Services. So long story short is spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to get a Lambda function to talk to a database, and in the end I was not successful at figuring out how to do it in a simple way. So it looks like I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and like figure out how to use these like Lambda layers. And I think one thing it's been on my to-do list is to figure out the process for getting Java Lambda functions, because if I can write the Lambda functions in Java, then I can reuse some of the existing code. And I think if I can commit some of the if I can keep the Lambda functions themselves in my local source control, that's just a bit easier. I don't really like having them, just sitting there in the cloud without any backup or any kind of source control. So that's probably the route that I'll go, and hopefully that's not insanely complicated to figure out how to upload a Java Lambda function that can talk to a database in RDS. So that's the conclusion for that. And that's basically. I guess that's not on the screen there. Yeah, so that basically brings me to the end of my justification for why I didn't publish more videos this week. If you search for static ESD ground kit comment point. All right, I'll give that a search. I'll take a look at that. You should be ashamed. Why is that? Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't make the connection. I thought that was just a random non sequitur comment. Yeah, well, this is my my excuse. But I figure it's yeah, these live streams are it's not that interesting, but I guess that's the point of a live stream is it's like the bar is really low. You don't there's no point in doing a script, because if I do a script, then I might as well just do a video. So I can just sit down, write down my bullet points, and I assume some of the members, like, I guess when I don't know what people who've joined my membership are expecting, but if I'm a membership or a Patreon, I at least just want to see, like, what's this person up to or something. So that's just a basic insight into what's going on. And I guess once I get the through these things here, and the last point was tax season is coming up, so that's going to be another thing that's going to take a whole bunch of time. But once I get through all this garbage, and then assuming that I'm not homeless by that time, then I'll be able to make a whole bunch of videos. And one announcement that I forgot to write down is, I'm pretty sure. So I've been. Let's see, how long have I? Yeah, it's been over 1 year that I've been doing one shorts video every week when I haven't had any breaks yet. So I'm gonna switch after I finish Core Utils, which I think I have 3 more videos to finish Core Utils. I'm gonna do one Linux command shorts every 2 weeks. So that's so it'll take me, I'll be like 60 years old before I finish like the 400 something commands, because if I do one every 2 weeks, that's 26 commands a year. So that's like, to do 400. Yeah, I mean 400 would cover a lot of the basic core ones. I was checking one day on like a basic Ubuntu thing. There's got to be at least like 1,000 or so. A lot of them are some of them are like duplicates. Some of them are like printing commands where it's for printing one format or changing something, or but yeah, I mean, I think the short series it's been a good series for I don't regret it. It has been good for growth, but it's I think I've got to it makes sense to do a little bit less of that, and then I can that'll also give me more time for the longer form content, and it also means that even if I have more time for the shorts content, then they'll be higher quality too. Because if I think long term, what people want is they what's going to win in the future is like if people who post a smaller quantity of high quality videos, that's going to win over people who post like a low quality video every single day. Like there's tons of channels out there of people doing like daily vlogs and stuff, and they're just really poorly edited, and they get like 10 views. Should do whatever the next TikTok trend is. Yeah, it's I guess TikTok is mainly the key to TikTok seems to be it's like the audio trends, mainly like the songs, and also like it's about like ripping and remixing the common audio to things. So I guess I could RE Renovictions. I live near Chicago. See the same. We need to install new X in the apartments. So let's move. Everyone knows what's happening here. Yeah, it's I mean, in a way, it's kind of scary because like the housing crisis is so insane, and by buying up like this place here, it is kind of an old crappy building. Like I understand why, like there is merit to them saying like, oh, we can make it nicer, but the problem is like they want to do all new kitchen cabinets and do new flooring, and like the flooring is crappy, and the water temperature is not super consistent. But the thing is, I don't care, and this building still houses me, and it's not worth an extra $1,400 a month just to get kitchen cabinets and stuff. So like it's like if you don't have enough money for stuff, you throw out your old shoes and then buy brand new shoes. Like we're taking good usable inventory that we should be like savoring and squeeze as much life out of the existing housing stock as possible, and instead we're doing the opposite. We're taking the very small supply we have, and we're making it even more unaffordable. Out here, Central Cali, we're getting the rezone as much farmland for housing as possible, with car sprawl and LA-like traffic. The one building I know that is happening to now was upgraded less than 5 years ago. Oh, okay, you're saying it's being there's a renoviction now, and they also upgraded it 5 years ago. Not to mention government incentives for new cars rather than rebuilding old ones. Yeah, it's I mean, if you like, the most efficient economy is one where you think about every single resource in that economy and you use it to its maximum efficiency and potential. Like you get as much, squeeze as much out of it as possible. And it's kind of, it's insane the fact that we're taking, still, it's not like there's there's paint peeling off in the other room and stuff, but like I don't care. I can still, the use of this apartment. I am using this apartment to produce videos and live streams and producing educational content. But if I if I can't use it for that, then it's just very inefficient. As much juice from the orange, in other words. Yeah, and the other concerning aspect of it is like, I read some of the comments. Like there's lots of videos on this happening, and there's of course some people are on side very much with the tenants, but then there's a lot of also people who are like super anti, like against the tenants, because like there are also tenants. There are some tenants who are like terrible tenants who like destroy apartments and stuff like that. And there was a CBC thing about some landlord who had a bad tenant, and he was getting like bombarded with people offering to like come and like hide in the bushes and like I'll take care of this guy for you. I'll make sure I'll get him out of there, and I'll harass them and do this and that, and the fact that there's so much, there's so many angry people on both sides of the equation. It's like, I just want to live somewhere and not have drama over it. And if there ends up being like increasing support for basically breaching rent controls, then because like rent control used to be held in fairly high regard, but now it kind of seems like there's like a tacit acknowledgement among the government that rent control has been a failure, and they're like, you know what, we kind of just have to allow these landlords to evict people in bad faith, because it's the only way to make. In some ways, you can argue that makes sense, because to bring investment and money in, it has to be financially viable. So if you can create the condition where if you can artificially raise the rents by rent evicting everyone, then you can make the market rate higher and you can bring investment in, and then some of that investment might go toward building new housing. But it's a bleak future. Yeah, they see the outlier nightmare tenants. That's used an excuse to basically just take advantage and stay on top financially. Yeah, I think we've had like some of the housing. I think I heard some stat that like the rate of housing, if you had invested in housing in like the year 2000 in Canada, it was like one of the highest returning investments of like anything. It returned 20% compounding for like 20 years or something. So eventually that has to end. And there's so many people that there's lots of immigrants who came here and then they got a job and they were just barely able to qualify for a mortgage, and now they're leaving Canada, and they said in hindsight they made way more money on the value of their house than they did working in this country. So it's a weird state of affairs. But yeah, so that's basically the conclusion of why I didn't make more videos this week, and got some complaining. Neighborhood stalking is a thing. I've picked up on a lot of false information. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, but by false information. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I can say hopefully it improves, but there's no evidence that the housing situation will improve in the near future. I think people who know criminals, law enforcement, yeah, I don't know, this I got all the turmoil in the housing market, I'm sure is amplifying a lot of the weird, the informal economy of things. Yeah, I think I'll probably call it a night for now. This was a decently successful live stream. I didn't have any blurring loud noises this time, so all right guys, I think I'll end it there. Have a good night, and I'll try to do another live stream next week.